Our bodies are under attack in today's society. Point blank, period. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the WellwithTiff podcast. I am going to be taking you guys along on my holistic wellness journey, and I hope to inspire and encourage and motivate you all as well. So, this is the second episode in my Transform Your Gut Health series, where I am sharing all the lessons that I learned in my gut health transformation journey, things that worked for me, things that didn't work for me, what caused it all, what can cause gut health disruption, and how you can turn that around. I want you guys to learn how to listen to your bodies and how to take care of it. And so that's what I hope that you're taking away from this series. And something else too that is really important to me is that I want you all to feel seen. I want you to feel heard. I felt like during my gut health transformation journey, it was oftentimes a lonely one. Yes, I had the support of the people that I love and the people that surround me, but it was hard because I felt like it was just me going through the issues all by myself. And then when I figured out that talking about it more and speaking up about how I was feeling or why I couldn't eat certain things or do certain things, I realized that people in my surroundings were also struggling with different things, or maybe the same thing. Maybe they also had IBS. Maybe they were also struggling with gut health, or maybe they were struggling with something else. But what I realized was when I spoke up is when other people felt comfortable to speak up. And we are not alone in this. All of us, no matter what the thing is that we are struggling with in our life, we're all going through something, and we shouldn't have to do that alone. And so I want you guys to find community and a shared understanding that, yes, all of our experiences are unique, and also we can find community in that. So I hope that's what you find in not only my episodes, but just generally in your day-to-day community and your day-to-day lives, that you find people that support you and love you and people that you can relate to. Before we dive in, I just want to share a quick disclaimer. And if you ever see me looking down, it's because I'm reading my notes and I want to make sure to give you guys all the information possible that I have to share. And so I just want to state that I am not a medical professional by any means. If that's not obvious already, I am just sharing from my own personal experience and sharing what I learned over the last few years. I am hoping that in me sharing my experience, it inspires you to take control of your well-being and your health. And by sharing what worked for me, what didn't work for me, you can use these as conversation starters with your healthcare providers to figure out a plan that works for you. And also, most importantly, it's very essential to listen to your body. And that's honestly what will drive how you move forward in your health journey. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into the content of today's episode. Our bodies are under attack in today's society. Point blank, period. Modern living is not something that our bodies is used to or prepared for. There have been so many advances in today's society. You can see that everywhere you look, from the laptops and phones we're using, to the foods we're eating, to how we move around during the day, your car, your house. Everything has been optimized to be easier for us, to make us more comfortable, to make us addicted to getting more and more of certain things. And these environments are not allowing our guts, and more importantly, our bodies as a whole, to heal and to process what's going on. Everything around us is evolving rapidly, but our bodies aren't necessarily prepared for or adapted to this modern lifestyle. And so it's important to take responsibility of your health and wellness. If you don't take responsibility of your own health in today's society, no one else is going to. It's up to you to figure out what works, what doesn't work. It's up to you to reset and it's up to you to make sure that you are giving your body exactly what it needs to thrive, because in today's world, everything is just going to keep happening rapidly. And yes, you got to keep up, but also you have to take care of yourself. I used to eat everything and anything. I used to do all the things. Growing up, probably the same thing you guys ate. My favorite cereal was Reese's Puffs or Fruit Loops. I brought sandwiches with the pre-made lunch meats to lunch. I had Little Debbie snacks. I was drinking Juicy Juice and High C and Kool-Aid. That was my childhood. I wouldn't picture it any other way. I was definitely a happy child, and I was able to have all the things that I wanted to have. But looking back on it, would I have allowed myself to eat all the things? Probably not. But I was a kid. What did I know? And furthermore, what else did your family know? Everybody was being fed the same amount of information. How all these foods have nutrients and stuff that are technically added back in. But all these foods are good for you. Feed your kid this, do this, whatever. And who are we to believe otherwise? So we all probably lived very similar childhoods, very similar lifestyles. And that was me. That didn't change when I went to college. That was the first time I was exposed to different meals. Growing up, I ate a lot of Caribbean meals because my family is Caribbean. So going to college and going to the food court and seeing all these different options, all these different desserts, all these different things. Trust me, your girl was eating and eating good at that. And I didn't really think twice about any of that. I went through college with the same bad habits, again, not thinking better of anything, just operating how I thought was normal. And I also fell into finance culture in college. That was the career I ended up picking to pursue. And it just made sense. It made sense because I was a first generation student in college. Nobody else in my family had pursued finance or business to that extent. And it made sense because I knew my parents had came to the States because they wanted us to have a better life and to get that degree and work in business and have that dream life. And so it made sense for me to pursue that career. On top of that, my school is very pre-professional, and so seeing all of my peers and all of my friends pursuing finance, it just felt like the right thing to do. And so that's what I did. I went into finance, and once I graduated and started working full-time, that work culture, particularly in the finance industry, was a wake-up call for me. It was honestly stressful. There's no other way to put it. Everything was urgent all the time. I was constantly under pressure to get things done quickly, get things done accurately, obviously, and to act a certain way, I had to code switch. I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. I felt like I had to be a certain person. I felt like I had to understand what everybody was talking about when they were talking about going snowboarding and skiing in the wintertime and their lake houses out in Martha's Vineyard and all those things. I had to act like I knew what they were talking about when honestly I had no idea what they were talking about. I had never been exposed to any of those things before until I got into that industry. But I had to fake it to make it. And again, it was just more of me trying to fit into a mold and trying to be somebody that I wasn't. But in my head, it made sense to do this because this is what was expected of me. This is what all my peers were doing. And so I kept pushing forward. And I honestly felt like a robot in my life. But that didn't change anything for me because I thought that was normal. I thought that's what working meant. I didn't realize how bad the stress was getting to me. I just figured, oh, this is normal. This is how everybody feels. Everybody feels nauseous and sick or queasy. Everybody's stressed. Everybody feels anxious going into work. This is all normal. Yes, I was literally feeling anxious every single morning I woke up going to work. I dreaded it, but I still kept going because I was like, I need to make something of myself, and this is the only way how to do it. I literally was like feeling sick every day. Just like nauseous, feeling terrible. My stomach felt upset. Like I said, I was anxious all the time. Every time, like literally in my little cubicle, which I couldn't really see who was coming up behind me, but anytime I felt the presence of someone come behind me, my body would just like tense up. I dreaded every aspect of it, but I kept going because it just felt like what was required of me. And it wasn't until my body literally said, you need to stop or all your wheels are gonna fall off, that I actually took a pause and started figuring out what was going on with me. And that was the turning point in my life. Now, when that day came, when I actually started listening to my body and realizing, wait, this actually isn't normal. Not feeling good, not waking up energized and excited for what you're gonna do in the day, that's not normal. Feeling nauseous every single day, that's not normal. When I finally made that switch in my mind, I decided I needed to ask for time off. Now, mind you, in the finance industry, that's really not normal, especially for someone my age, to ask to take leave when you don't have something going on. Like, say you're not having a kid, you don't have something bad happening in your family. That's just not normal for you to just take a leave because you feel like you need to. But I needed to, trust me. And so when I needed to ask my boss for that time off, I felt very nervous and very scared to do it. And that is not okay. If you need to take time away from something, you should be able to do that, no questions asked. Now, if they were like, of course, take your time off. If you aren't feeling well, you need to take time off, because that's the human reaction. But why was it that I felt so nervous and so scared to do that? That's something that also made me think twice about everything that was going on in my life. That was the most important and honestly the best decision I ever made for myself, was putting myself first, thinking about me, and not thinking about how this is going to impact someone else, how this is going to impact my work, how this is going to impact my trajectory. What are the people in my life going to think? I thought about me and I put me first. And it was from then on that I was really able to focus on my gut health, my healing journey, and figuring out why I felt like a robot in my own life. So now we're going to get into the lessons that I learned while on my gut healing journey, and more broadly, my holistic journey. And number one thing that I learned was that I was not living my life for me. Let me say that again. I was not living my life for me. I was too busy trying to fit into the finance world, like I mentioned, because that's what all my peers were doing, and that's what felt right. And it felt like something that would make my family proud. When you hear all of those things, does that sound like somebody who is living for them and making decisions based on what they want out of life? No, it doesn't. I had started going to therapy during my healing process, and that is something that really stood out to me, was that I realized all the decisions that I made in my life, and every time I had to do something, I would always think, what is X person going to think about this? What would X person do? Fill in the blank, whoever that might be, my parents, my friends, my partner, whoever it is. I was always worried about them and how it would make them feel, and I wasn't worried about me at all. And so coming to terms with that was hard. It was me realizing I was a people pleaser and that needed to change. That is one of the key reasons why I felt like I was a robot moving through my life, is just because I wasn't having any emotion about anything. I was just doing things because it felt like what I should do, or as a kid, what I was told to do. Realizing that I was living by all these rules that I didn't even create, they were created by someone else, or maybe even just like made up in my head. Once I realized that, breaking that habit and turning a new leaf made a world of change for me. Ever since then, I've started thinking about the decisions I was making and asking myself the question, is this what I really want? Do I feel good about doing this? Will this lead to the life that I want in the future? And doing a lot of that reflecting and that inner work has helped me live a more authentic lifestyle. And so I am very grateful for that wake-up call that I experienced, even though it was one that manifested in physical symptoms for me and I felt terrible and I needed to heal my body. I am still very grateful that I went through that, because Who knows? I wouldn't be here right now being able to share this story and hoping to inspire others to wake up and get out of the matrix and get out of the brainwash if I hadn't have gone through that. I could still be sitting in my little cubicle today. Ew, like, why would I want to be living and sitting in that cubicle all day long? And I said living, I meant that, because I was spending all my hours in that cubicle. So relatedly, another lesson I learned was that it is your responsibility to prioritize your health, which I harped on earlier. But it is so important because we can go to all the annual checkups, we can go and get our routine cleanings, etc. But if you aren't asking questions, if you aren't paying attention and asking for a copy of your lab work, if you know in your body that you don't feel right or something feels a little off, but the doctor said your labs are fine, or you're kind of being brushed off, then you're not taking responsibility of your health. It's so important to really understand all the numbers. It's really important to understand how you're feeling. If something doesn't feel right, you need to speak up. Ask questions in your appointments. Don't just go in and go out and say, check the box, that's over with. It's so important because unless something is like way out of whack, they're probably not going to call it out. Things start to not feel good, but it takes time for them to build up into something really bad. And so it's important to pay attention to all the cues going on and take action as early on as possible. You need to be prioritizing it because nobody else is going to. I was going through extremely terrible pain and just felt horrible in my stomach and in my gut. I didn't know what was going on. I found the best specialist I could find in my area for this, gastroenterologist. They focus on your stomach and your digestive health. And tell me why they could only offer 15-minute sessions. What can we solve in 15 minutes? Let me know. I was kind of baffled by that. And so I did my best, but also I felt very rushed over. It almost was like the doctor wasn't fully listening to me. I didn't feel heard at all. And so that to me was a wake-up call. And after going through that experience, I started doing more research, and that's how I came across functional medicine and integrative medicine, which focuses on finding the root cause, listening to you, understanding your lifestyle and your habits, figuring out where things are going wrong and how to improve and optimize before things get worse. And so finding functional medicine has been transformative for me. I highly recommend that you look into it. And it helped me understand what was going on in my body and, more importantly, take responsibility for it. The third lesson I learned is that stress is dangerous and it can creep up on you when you least expect it. We are going through a time period where we don't even realize it, but so many things can trigger our stress response and are considered stressful inputs in our lives, but we don't think about it. For example, something you might not think about is just scrolling on your phone regularly, morning, day, and night. Your eyes are taking in that blue light. You're scrolling, you're seeing some positive things, but you're also seeing negative things. You're all seeing, oh man, this person's life seems better than mine. Or, wow, they get to do all these things, but I don't get to do any of these things. Like, the way you're thinking and the way you're processing the things that you're seeing on your phone is causing you stress. It's a low-grade stress, but it's constant. Another thing, work, emails. How many of us get triggered and jump every time we hear that little ding from an email, or the Zoom call sound, the Slack call sound? All of those sounds kind of trigger us because, especially if we're not working a job that we love or feel passionate about, you're gonna feel annoyed. You're gonna feel bothered when you hear those sounds. That's another form, again, of low-grade stress. Then there's there's stronger stress where you're actually feeling like I was, anxious going into the job. You were dreading it. You hated every minute of the job. You are hating every minute of something. It doesn't have to be your job. It just has to be something that's actually causing you to feel stronger emotions that are more present. When that happens in a prolonged amount of time, that can really build up on your body and negatively impact it. Then there are other stresses that happen throughout the day. Maybe you have family stress going on. Maybe there's a trauma that you're experiencing. Maybe you're just consuming way too much negative content. All those things really build up. And what you don't realize is that stress is slowly chipping away at your body. For me, that manifested in the stress impacting my gut health. That, which we can touch on at a later point, that gut-brain axis, it's so powerful. I didn't even know it existed. But the stress that I was feeling in my brain was manifesting in symptoms in my gut. And it's because of those connections, the neurotransmitters. And actually my next lesson learned was that endless feedback loop that impacts your gut-brain axis. So basically, I was feeling stressed externally, and that manifested in symptoms for me digestively. Then I started to feel stressed about my digestive system, and that stress just feeds the symptoms that I was experiencing. So I was continuously experiencing stress externally, causing symptoms, and then internally I was stressed and anxious and worrying about what was going on inside me, not knowing what was going on. And it was just a constant feedback loop that kept feeding the negative symptoms and making things worse and worse and worse. And so really coming to understand the gut-brain axis and how you think impacts your body is so important. Once I really understood what was going on, focusing on a more positive mindset and thinking about a positive outlook really did help me. Most importantly, because it broke the feedback loop. I had to focus on stop stressing, stop worrying, manage my anxiety in order to break the feedback loop, and then I could work on healing my gut from within. So I already touched on this a little bit earlier, but it's so important to supplement your healthcare provider system with functional medicine, because they are going to be able to do a lot more in-depth tests and really talk to you about root cause issues and help you to fix that. Oftentimes they focus on a natural process first, through healing through the foods you eat and your habits and making lifestyle changes before introducing any medicine if you need medicine. I found that to be a fresh perspective on healthcare and improving my well-being, because instead of just going to the doctor, telling them what's wrong and getting medicine or a prescription to mask the symptom, I was actually figuring out what was the root cause and what was causing me to feel so terrible, and fix that so that I don't keep experiencing it in the future. And it's important because you aren't just going to be handed it on a silver platter. You actually have to go and look for functional medicine. You have to actually go and look for providers that actually care about root cause. And this just goes back to asking questions, really understanding what's going on. So say you aren't able to get functional medicine because it's not covered by your insurance or it's a little bit out of your budget. Just start doing some research and ask more questions in your primary care visits. That's definitely going to be step number one. And then step number two, there's a lot of services out there nowadays where you can get tests done and get answers yourself. And I highly encourage you to look into that. I'm happy to do a future video reviewing and talking about the different options available. If you guys think that might be helpful, definitely comment below and I can get something in the works for that. But I highly encourage that you start looking into ways to really understand what's going on in your body, even if it's just asking more questions in your typical visits. The next thing I learned was, after years of bad habits, everything isn't just going to be fixed overnight. It took me about a year to fully transform my gut health and make a 180 from feeling terrible, feeling like crap all day long, to actually feeling like myself, feeling more in tune with my body, really understanding what's going on, not having those bad symptoms anymore. You can't just fix it overnight. There are lots of videos out there that are like, fix your gut health in 72 hours, fix your health in a day, fix your gut health with this one trick. And that's actually just not true. If you've been eating all kinds of food for years, maybe since childhood, if you have terrible sleep habits, if you are constantly just consuming inputs that are stressful and you don't even realize that they're stressful, it's going to take time to heal. You aren't just going to heal overnight. That is not true. It's going to take time. I am living proof. It takes time. And maybe even a year is very generous because there are still things that I am trying to improve and learning about. But I was able to significantly improve within that year. So it is doable, but you need to be real with yourself and understand that you aren't going to heal overnight. All your symptoms aren't just going to melt away. You need to make changes, lifestyle changes that are going to lead to overall improvement. The next lesson I learned was how to read my blood work and my lab results. Yes, the doctor's going to run through it and tell you, this is in the normal range, this seems good, you might need to work on this one, but it could be normal for your age range. But instead of just taking all of that and just shrugging your shoulders and being like, okay, that works, that sounds good, you need to actually take that information, ask them for a copy of it, go home and understand it yourself. Understand what's going on in your body. Look at different research articles and understand what is the optimal range, not just what is normal, and really try to strive for those optimal ranges. And it's important to really understand the key biomarkers in your different lab tests that really indicate when your body just isn't functioning as best as it could be functioning. And then you need to do research and watch videos like this that help you understand what changes you need to make in your lifestyle, what changes you need to make in your diet, what changes you need to make in how you mentally approach things that will help you improve those numbers and improve how your body is functioning. Relatedly on that though, another lesson I learned was not to just Google your symptoms and go down those rabbit holes, because those rabbit holes can be dark and scary, and you shouldn't just take everything that you see online about those symptoms as gospel, because it could have you thinking the worst case scenario, and that's not going to help your mental health. That's not going to help how you're feeling. So the important thing is when you research things, research it just to understand what is going on, understand what could be causing certain things, and then ask questions at your annual visits, or maybe it's a random checkup if you have something that you're wanting to look into sooner. It's important to not just go online and go down the Reddit threads, just read everything that everyone's experiencing, because you will get overwhelmed. I did that early on in my journey because I was, again, looking for community, and it stressed me out even more. And so take it with a grain of salt. Don't go too far down the rabbit hole. Research just enough to get information to be able to prompt questions that you need to ask. The ninth lesson I learned is to lean on the support of your family and friends. Like I was talking about earlier, I felt alone in what I was experiencing, but by constantly talking about it with the people in my life, I was able to, one, find support because they heard me, they understood what I was going through, they wanted to make sure that I was comfortable and had the support that I needed. By telling my friends what I was experiencing, what I was going through, whenever we would hang out, they made sure that I was comfortable. They asked me what I thought about a restaurant before we made the reservation. I was able to look at the restaurant, make sure they had things that I would feel comfortable eating. The other thing is they would check on me regularly. They would ask how I was feeling that week or what was going on. Same thing with my husband and my family. They always would check in on me and make sure that I was feeling okay, or make sure that I had what I needed to heal and work on myself. And that was so important, so valuable. The important thing here is to not go through it alone. Speak up, talk to the people in your circle, talk to your healthcare providers, find your community, and it's just gonna help. It's gonna help how you feel mentally, how you're processing things, to realize that you are not alone and people are there for you. People are supporting you. People want you to feel better. People want you to feel like yourself. Lean on the people in your circle, but also communities like this that I'm trying to build. Find those communities that are uplifting each other, and it's just gonna make a world of a difference for you. The last lesson I learned is that food is fuel and food is medicine. Instead of just relying on medicine unless you absolutely need it, try to think of what could be going wrong in your lifestyle and what changes you can make that would support you healing. One of those is oftentimes going to be looking at the food you're eating. Instead of eating processed foods, white breads, bagels, cereal, Lunchables, I don't know, you name it, chips, ice cream, cakes, all of that. Instead of eating those foods, you need to be eating whole foods that can help your body heal and do what it needs to do. Try to keep a food journal. Try to just be a little bit more thoughtful when you're putting together a plate or you're putting together your dinner or your lunch or your breakfast. Just be a little bit more mindful and aware of what you're putting in your body, and that's just going to help create an environment where it can heal and where it can thrive. I had no idea that food was medicine. I say that like food is medicine. Obviously, medicine is medicine, but what I mean by that is food, when eaten in its natural state, has a ton more nutrients. It's beneficial for you. It can be processed by your body. It's the fuel your body wants. And when you make that mental switch to looking at food in that way, it's just going to help you make better decisions about what you're putting in your body in the long term. And so I didn't realize that. I thought I was eating healthy because I have been someone that generally does read some labels, but what I was doing was I was reading the label, but I was looking at it as like, oh, I can understand that. I can read that ingredient, so I guess it's fine to be in there. When now I am reading ingredients labels and I'm looking for single ingredients, simple ingredients, as few ingredients as possible, because that's actually what my body is going to be able to process. And so recognizing the healing power of food is also recognizing what works for you, because what works for somebody else might not work for you. There's so many different good foods out there and superfoods, but they might not actually work for you. A good example of that is turmeric for me. Turmeric is a well-known anti-inflammatory, but for me, I'm actually sensitive to turmeric, and so it might actually do the opposite for me, where it might make me feel worse rather than better. And so I try to actually avoid turmeric. You can't just listen to everything. You really have to listen to your body because your body knows best. I could definitely go on a huge tangent about what foods work for people, what foods might not work for people, and how you can figure that out. But I think I'll actually save that for a future episode in this series. So we'll go ahead and end it here. All I want to say is that I felt the most like myself and I've been living the most authentically since my gut health journey. And I really hope that you guys are able to find that too and be able to live authentically. If you made it this far, I do want to thank you. I feel like I was rambling in this video, but this is particularly important to me because it has had such a transformational impact on my life, and improving your gut health is so important and so vital in today's society. And I've been able to tune in and figure out what my body likes and what it needs, and I believe that you guys can find that too. And so thank you for sticking with me through this episode. I'm excited to bring more valuable insights in future episodes in this series. And so with that, we'll go ahead and close out. If you guys found any of these lessons particularly valuable or they really resonated with you, please comment those below. And if you're going through anything, it doesn't have to be gut health related. It can be anything, and you feel comfortable sharing and you are looking for that community, that's what this is. That's what I'm trying to build. So please share your experiences below and let's all grow together. So with that, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.